In this WrestleTalk news, another ex-WWE star set for return, another release in the company, and our reviews of SmackDown and Rampage. Subscribe and enable notifications to always on for daily wrestling news videos.
Support WrestleTalk!
In what is now becoming a hallmark of Triple H's new reign of terror, although this time replace terror with coolness and hope, yet another released WWE name is looking likely to be returning to programming very soon. On SmackDown, vignettes have been airing for the Viking Raiders. However, in the most recent clip, there seems to be a suggestion that Eric and Ivar may not be alone, with an unknown female voice being heard alongside a male voice. According to Fightful Select, that female voice may be none other than Sarah Logan. Logan, who is the real-life wife of Eric, has been largely inactive in the wrestling business since her 2020 release, aside from a one-off appearance at this year's Royal Rumble match. It is important to note, however, that Eric is currently out of action indefinitely with a foot injury, so it is currently unknown when Valhalla will in fact be coming after all. Moving on to WWE's latest releases, it appears that not only was lead Raw announcer Jimmy Smith let go, but also sadly it's been reported by PW Insider and Fightful Select that former NXT and NXT UK announcer Nigel McGuinness has also been released by the company. Since NXT UK's closure in early September, the former Ring of Honor World Champion has been moved to the NXT Level Up show, but now after 6 years with WWE has seen his memorable tenure cut short. As for Jimmy Smith, he has now revealed that Michael Cole broke the news to him, and while he didn't receive an explanation for being cut, it was not a surprise to him due to Triple H revealing that a shakeup was imminent prior to this week's Raw. Speaking on the Unlocking the Cage MMA podcast, Smith said, "I knew basically the whole show Monday night that I wasn't coming back, so when I got the call on Tuesday, I was not particularly surprised. I understand how it works, I don't expect an explanation." With Andrade and Sammy Guevara dominating the news this week, it's easy to forget that Brawl Out also happened only a month ago. Not much has been heard regarding the situation lately, and according to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, this has been due to threatened legal action and one individual's refusal to cooperate. This delay has led to no specific time frame being given for anyone's return to TV, or anyone being let go from their contract as of yet, not even the alleged human chain chomp himself, Ace Steel. While Brawl Out produced many conflicting reports, many have reported that it was Punk that first threw hands against the Elite, which, considering Sammy Guevara, who also reportedly didn't instigate his scuffle with Andrade, not only avoided suspension or even being sent home, but also went on to secure the pin in the main event of Dynamite, unlike the Elite, who were and continue to be suspended. According to the Wrestling Observer, an AEW source has spelled out the feeling of double standards this decision has caused backstage. According to that same source, Ring of Honor champion Chris Jericho stuck up for Guevara and insisted he did nothing wrong, which may be why Sammy avoided punishment. While this may prove to be the case, with another source saying that Andrade hid in the hallway to ambush Guevara from behind, it's hard to say whether Guevara is an innocent party in this whole situation, especially considering the stoking of the flames he did with Andrade on Twitter prior to Dynamite. As predicted, this situation just keeps unraveling day by day, so make sure to stay glued to WrestleTalk.com for more updates. And now it's time for my review of SmackDown in about 5 minutes. Thank you for being awesome pledge hammers on our Patreon page, the Roller Coaster Robert Acosta, and Chris the Cypriot Sensation Patru. You can get your own shout out and loads of extra bonus content by visiting us at patreon.com/WrestleTalk. This show began with Triple H, the first time, I think, he's been seen on screen since taking over from Vince. He didn't say much, but that this was the beginning, and welcomed everyone to SmackDown, though cleverly, there was a QR code on his microphone, which I think was a neat way to do it. The codes have been getting steadily more noticeable, and on the Go Home show for Extreme Rules, it was right in your face. I like it. Roman Reigns and the Bloodline were up next, and they were quickly interrupted by Logan Paul, who was run down by Paul Heyman and, in a long roundabout way, said he was going to get beaten up by Roman. Logan responded saying, "Is the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns or Jey Uso?" Now, I don't know if you've been paying attention, but it's Roman Reigns, and has never been Jey Uso. I know what they were going for here, with Logan insinuating that Jey has been carrying the bloodline and actually Roman is only champion because of Jey, but I think what followed would have actually been a bit better had they explained that a little bit, as it came off a little flat from Logan's delivery. Jey gets fired up when Logan calls him the Tribal Chief, and Roman stares down Jey, who calms down and can't look him in the eye. But who should ease the tension but Sami Zayn, who actually sticks up for Jey Uso, which is a wonderful little detail. Sami played peacekeeper perfectly here, but it only came back to bite him later. Backstage, Roman admonishes Jey for being a hothead, and says he's had to deal with this his whole life, so it's not his problem anymore, it's Sami's. What a wonderful idea. Jay now has to answer to Sami. It's a perfect progression of this story, which only paid off later on in the show. Solo Sikoa beat Ricochet clean after hitting the spinning solo, which he caught from a shooting star press, which looks very cool. Solo continues to be an advantageous force to have in the bloodline, and these wins are helping establish that. Hit Row came out next to do something. It's unimportant because they were attacked by the freshly called up Legado del Fantasma, who this time are not joined by Elektra Lopez, but instead Zelina Vega. Both Zelina and Santos Escobar got to talk here, which is good, as it establishes both of them as the important figures here and doesn't paint just one of them as the leader. Though, if one person should be the leader, it should be Santos. Raquel Rodriguez beat Sonya Deville and Xia Li in a tag match next. Sorry, Shotzi was there too. She has a tank now, and that's all she's there for, as Raquel pretty much single-handedly got the win here. Karrion Kross came out next to do something. It's unimportant because he was attacked by Drew McIntyre. That's twice it's happened on this show. The camera work was fantastic on this though, with Drew popping up behind Kross on his entrance, and he had a strap with him, which led to Kross whipping the shit out of him. This was a good segment. Head on over and like our new Facebook page. Link is in the description. Valhalla awaits, apparently. I, for one, am looking forward to having Sarah Logan back. After the New Day earlier in the night ran down Jay and Sami, Sami made a 6-man tag match here with a partner of New Day's choosing, and this was amazing. Sami Zayn teaming with the Usos? Great. Commentary constantly referencing the fact that the Usos' title reign is closing in on the New Day's longest of all time? Delightful. The New Day teaming with Braun Strowman? It was fine, I guess, but the other stuff was good. Braun was the key factor in this match, as they just kind of won after he got tagged in, but it's all in the details before then that made this match for me. Jay would tag in his brother Jimmy. Jimmy would constantly tag in Sami over his own brother. Sami would then get blind tagged by Jay, and they would argue. It was a great little detail that commentary also picked up on. Well done, Michael Cole. Sami and Jay got into even more of an argument on the outside, leaving Jimmy alone in the ring to get pinned by the New Day, surely setting up a tag title match where not only will the tag titles be on the line, but also New Day's longest reign. Backstage, LA Knight had beaten up the Maximum Male Models and officially called himself LA Knight again. I think this probably deserved more than like 15 seconds, but maybe that's just me. And then it was the main event match of Gunther versus Sheamus for the Intercontinental Championship, which for the most part was a banger. The two started off hot and continued their frenetic pace and stiff striking throughout, and it all culminated in some huge near falls with a second rope white noise, a dropkick and powerbomb from Gunther, and even a top rope splash to the back of Sheamus, but Sheamus hit an Irish curse and locked in the cloverleaf, and that is where the odd finish kicked in. Gunther seemed to tap. He hit the mat twice, and the crowd rejoiced, thinking Sheamus had won, but he didn't actually tap. He moved to the ropes and broke up the submission, with Sheamus saying to the ref, he tapped. Gunther was then handed a shillelagh by an interfering Imperium, and Gunther used that behind the ref's back to win. It was an odd finish that deflated the crowd somewhat, and I'm not sure what they were going for here, or if it was a mistake, but either way it didn't really work. An otherwise brilliant match though. This show overall was pretty good, I thought. I don't know why they're so insistent on having their season premieres at the same time each year when they just get in the way of the builds of they already have for their regular programming, or why season premieres are even a thing when WWE doesn't have seasons, but that's just a huge pet peeve of mine. The in-ring action was good to great. The Bloodline stuff continues to be fascinating, much more so than the Logan Paul stuff. Legado del Fantasma are on SmackDown, and Gunther vs. Sheamus was a banger, save from the awkward finish. This show gets a high 3/low 4 out of 5. Now, hot tag to Tempest.
You're not tricking me into getting up an hour earlier to review his two shows, AEW. We'll discuss Battle of the Belts on today's podcast, but for now, let's get into a live edition of Rampage, which means entrances in the opener. Well, some entrances. Entrances for Claudio and Mox. And did you know this is only the third time in 2022 that the AEW World Champion has wrestled on Rampage? Yeah, the only other times were Moxley's match with Mance Warner and Hangman's blow-off match with Adam Cole. Let's beef up those numbers, shall we? This opening match was a trios match, pitting Mox, Claudio, and Wheeler Yuta against Roosh and Private Party. Not really sure where the connection with Private Party and LFI is going to go at this point. Don't really think Andrade is coming to finish up this story. As a match, this was fun and pretty standard. Ultimately, this gave Wheeler Yuta a chance to get a win back as he got Mark Quinn to submit to a bicep slice. Kind of a flat finish here. I don't think anybody expected this to be the finish, and while I do like the idea of Yuta having multiple submission finishers a la Bryan Danielson, I don't think this should be one of them. Still a fun match, 3 out of 5. Claudio also spun Private Party around in an airplane spin and giant swing, so that was fun. 3 out of 5. The Varsity Blondes then got squashed by Tony Nese and Josh Woods. Between this and losing to the Ass Boys in seconds, the Blondes have fallen off a cliff in AEW. They were never pushed, but they were a lot more protected than this. And to add insult to injury, Smart Mark Sterling stole their name after the match, saying that he'd trademarked the word varsity and will be calling Nese and Woods the Varsity Athletes, and if the Blondes use it, they'll get sued. That's kind of a fun concept, I guess. Arn Anderson was also disappointed backstage, so maybe we'll be getting a hitting rock bottom story for Garrison and Pillman here. The Acclaimed then came out and did a rap to end this segment, and I liked the rap. Said they'd hit him in the face like Draymond Green, and oh my god, that is no small threat. You see that punch? He rocked Jordan Poole's shit. 2 out of 5. We then had Anna Jay and Ty Mello taking on Sky Blue and Madison Rayne. There haven't been many reasons for Jay and Ty Mello to team up this year following the end of their feud with the Bunny and Penelope Ford, but they do have some chemistry together. They do a bunch of little things like making tags by booping their fingers together, and I think it just adds to their presentation. This match got some time to actually be something, and the girls were all working hard. There was a Gotch-style pile driver as a transition move, which perked my ears up, but eventually Ty and Jay's teamwork was the difference maker. Ty hit a big knee during a roll-up attempt, allowing Jay to lock in the Queen Slayer for the win. I like seeing the women be given more time than usual, even if it was a fairly inconsequential match. At least it gets over Ty JAS, which is a dumb name for a team, because Ty and Jay don't rhyme, no matter how much AEW wants them to. 3 out of 5. And then we had our main event for the AEW Trios Championship with Death Triangle taking on Dark Order. It goes without saying that the work in this match was very good. It would be hard for it not to be with these 6 dudes involved. Of course, this match came about because Andrade wasn't here to have his match with 10, but that didn't stop Jose the assistant from getting involved. After the Dark Order hit a pendulum bomb for a very close near fall, Jose came out with a contract for 10, but drew the attention of John Silver, which allowed Roosh to sneak in and hand-pack the ring bell hammer, which he used to hit Alex Reynolds and lock in the Brutalizer for the win. This was a really good match, and I'm gonna be curious to see where we go with Roosh and everything considering the current situation, but it is clear that they're not dropping this fascination with 10 joining Los Ingobernables anytime soon. As for the finish, it did seem a little odd for Pac to cross the line all the way into full-blown cheating like this, but he isn't exactly a stranger to that either. It was just very much a heel finish for a team that are usually tweeners at worst. This was a great main event nonetheless, and it will get a 4 out of 5, capping off another 3 out of 5 episode of Rampage and setting up the start of Battle of the Belts, which we will discuss today on the WrestleTalk podcast, so make sure you tune in for that. In this WrestleTalk news, a WWE Raw name is gone from WWE, a top act is being called up to SmackDown, more details on the Andrade Sammy Guevara backstage fight, and more. Enable notifications to always on and subscribe for daily wrestling news videos.
Support WrestleTalk!